In this video, we're going to look at how to take your lighting skills to new heights. These days we're all very used to seeing stills and footage captured by drones, but there's another use that many might not have considered. What about using a drone as a light source? By strapping a couple of high-powered LEDs to a drone, we can transform it into a highly mobile lighting rig, capable of spotlighting outdoor scenes and subjects from airborne angles. I'm using a DJI Mavic Pro drone for this. Crucially, although pint-sized, it can take the extra weight of our LEDs. These are two powerful lume cubes. Of course, we could use any kind of lightweight light source for this, but the lume cubes are a good choice as they're very bright and there's a dedicated mount for the Mavic Pro. What's more, they connect with a phone via Bluetooth, so I can turn them off and on or change the brightness with the app on my phone. Most drones will have a flight time of around 20 to 30 minutes before the battery runs out. The Mavic Pro does a stated 27 minutes, but with the extra weight of the lume cubes and mounts, we lose about 10 minutes of flight time. 17 minutes isn't long, so a spare battery or two comes in very handy. Of course, it's best attempted at dusk or after dark, as this is when the extra lighting will really make a difference. So as the sun dipped down, we headed out to a quiet spot to light our countryside scene. Flying a drone in low light means the obstacle avoidance capabilities are more limited, so it's probably best to use an open spot where there's less chance of clipping a tree branch or overhead wires. With our airborne lighting rig, we have the freedom to light our scene from any angle, but we're restricted in that we can't pull the lights too far away from the scene or they'll be too weak. A top-down angle to the light gives our landscape scene a strange, otherworldly feel. The ideal camera settings will depend on the brightness of our LEDs and the strength of the ambient daylight. Shooting in twilight here, I'm in manual mode with my shutter speed at 10 seconds, aperture f11 and ISO 250. The 10-second long shutter speed allows us to move the drone around during the exposure, painting in light where we like. Of course, it means using a tripod and a cable release so as to prevent camera shake during the long exposure. I shot several frames while we moved the drone into different positions around the scene, first painting the top of the tree, then the foreground. This gives us the option to piece together the lighted areas in Photoshop. So here we are in Adobe Bridge, and these are the 4 images that I've chosen to piece together for my project. So you can see in this file here, the drone is lighting the very top part of the tree here. If we go to the next image, you can see now the foreground is lit down here. Similarly, with this shot, we've got more lighting on the foreground over to this side of the frame. And finally, with this frame here, we've just got a bit of fill lighting here on the tree. So let's piece them all together. Here in Adobe Bridge, I can select all of my files by clicking on the top, then holding Shift and clicking on the bottom file like that to select all 4, and then I can go to Tools, Photoshop, and we'll load files into Photoshop layers. And then once open in Photoshop, let's bring up our layers panel here, and you can see I now have each image here on a separate layer, and you might have noticed there's a slight misalignment going on. So you can see this top frame here doesn't quite match up with the frame below. I might have nudged the tripod during the exposure. When you're stumbling around in the dark, it can be quite difficult to be that precise, but what we can do in Photoshop is align all of our frames using a simple tool. So I'm going to again shift click between the top and bottom file here in the layers panel to select all 4, and then I'm going to go to Edit, and we're going to use Auto Align Layers. We can just leave it set the projection here to auto and hit OK, and hopefully this will line everything up more neatly. So now again, if we toggle each layer off in turn, you can see the alignment is looking much better. Now we're ready to blend our frames, and we just want to blend the lighter areas on each frame. So all we really need to do here is use a layer blend mode. So I can again shift click between the top layer and all but the bottom layer to select those 3 top layers there, and I'm going to go to the blend mode drop down here at the top of the layers panel and change this from normal to lighten. And you can see how that allows the lighter areas on each of those layers to show through. So now you can see we have blended all 4 frames to create one single lit scene like this. And all we really need to do now is finish off by toning the image in the same way as we would with any image. So I quite like to do this in Camera Raw. So I'm going to make a new merged layer of all of these 4 layers here. I can do that using the keyboard shortcut Command or Control plus Shift, Alt and E. And that will merge a new layer at the top of the layer stack there. And I'll go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter to access that. And then I could perhaps up the clarity a touch. Let's pull out a bit of detail there in the midtones like that. Let's perhaps up the shadows a touch, maybe add a touch of contrast. Let's perhaps increase the vibrance, maybe a touch of saturation. We could, if we like, go to the profile browser here and choose a different profile, perhaps this one here, and let's just knock down the amount to make it more subtle. So you can see, as I say, this is all just about finishing off the image in the same way as we would with any image. And I'm pretty happy with that, so I'll hit OK to apply. And I perhaps just need to finish off by cropping off these messy edges. Sometimes when you use the auto align feature, you'll see you get these slightly messy edges, but I can just crop in very slightly to get rid of them like that. And there we have it. That's my finished image. So that's how to light a scene with a drone.